Listen, if you own property in Fort Bend County, you know that sound, right? That ticking clock as the new year rolls in. Property taxes are a massive financial event for us, and missing the deadline, well, that can lead to some sudden, seriously severe penalties. But hey, take a deep breath. You don't need to stress. Today, we're diving into a completely actionable, totally stress-free explainer on how to pay your property taxes online, keep it secure, and most importantly, walk away entirely penalty-free. All right, let's jump right in. Here's our game plan for today's explainer. First, we're looking at the tax timeline. Second, finding your account. Third, the payment system. Fourth, pro tips for savings. Fifth, troubleshooting and support. And we'll wrap things up with a quick legal disclaimer. Okay, Section 1, the tax timeline. These are the crucial dates you absolutely cannot miss. Let's break down how this cycle actually works, because timing is everything here. January 1st is when the Fort Bend Central Appraisal District, or FBCAD, figures out your property's value. Fast forward to October 1st, and the tax assessor collector starts sending out those bills. But listen closely. The absolute most important date to sear into your brain is January 31st. That is your payment deadline. If you haven't paid your balance by January 31st, the very next day, February 1st, delinquency hits. And we're talking steep penalties, instant interest, and eventually, they'll even trigger tax liens against your property. We have got to beat that February 1st cutoff. Now, if your bill arrived in October and gave you a little bit of sticker shock, trust me, you are not alone. Let's contextualize why these bills can feel so astronomically high. You know, Texas doesn't have a state income tax, right? Well, that shifts the funding burden heavily onto us, the property owners. On top of that, Fort Bend County is just booming with master plan communities. That means a massive concentration of MUDs, municipal utility districts, and LIDs, levy improvement districts. These guys can add it anywhere from 17 cents to over $1 per $100 evaluation, right on top of your county and school taxes. That pushes the average homesteaded bill up to around $5,500. And keep in mind, FBCAD is mass appraising over 320,000 properties using automated statistical models. It's basically a giant algorithm, not some inspector walking through your living room.
Moving right along to Section 2, finding your account. Let's talk about actually navigating the tax portal.
Honestly, finding your bill online is incredibly straightforward. Think of it less like dealing with the government and more like a standard online shopping experience. There are absolutely no complicated passwords to remember, and you don't even have to create an account. You just hit the Fort Bend County Tax Assessor Collectors Portal. Step 1, you just type in your owner name, make sure you do last name first, or your property address, or your 16-digit account number. Step 2, filter the search results if you've got a super common name. And Step 3, once your property pops up, just click Add to Shopping Cart. It's all public record, so it's wonderfully simple. Oh, and here's a massive efficiency tip for you. If you happen to be a local landlord, maybe a real estate investor, or a small business owner with multiple spots, you don't have to do this one agonizing bill at a time. The system actually lets you search, locate, and drop up to 50 different property accounts into your cart all at once. You can literally pay the whole shebang in one single streamlined transaction. Such a time saver.
So, Section 3, the payment system. Let's dive into checkout fees and methods.
Okay, your properties are in the cart and you're ready to check out using the county's third-party processor, GovPay. This brings us to a really critical money-saving choice you have to make. You'll see a couple of payment options. First up is the e-check, or electronic check. This connects straight to your bank using your routing and account numbers. And here's the best part, $0 convenience fee. It is 100% free. On the flip side, if you decide to swipe a credit or debit card, you are going to get hit with a convenience fee of about 2.25 to 2.29%. Let's do the math on that. If your tax bill is that average $5,500 we talked about, a 2.29% fee adds over $125 to your total, just for the luxury of using plastic. Seriously, always choose the e-check if you want to keep that hard-earned money in your own pocket. And you know, another really huge advantage of using that free e-check system is the flexibility it gives you. You don't actually have to pay immediately when you log in. You can use the portal today to schedule a single, future e-check payment. So imagine logging in during December, setting the money to be pulled on, say, January 25th, and then just resting easy knowing you've officially beaten that January 31st deadline without having to set an alarm to log back in later. You can even set up recurring e-check payments if breaking it down fits your personal budgeting style a bit better. That naturally brings us to Section 4, Pro Tips for Savings. How about we look at actually lowering your future tax burden? First up, I want to talk about this fantastic program the tax assessor collector offers called Pay It Forward. It's essentially an escrow payment system, Look, if you don't already have an escrow account set up through your mortgage lender, getting walloped with a massive $5,000+ bill every January is, well, it's incredibly stressful. This program fixes that. It allows you to enter into a contract directly with the county to prepay your upcoming taxes in simpler, much more manageable installments throughout the year. When January rolls around, the money is just sitting there ready to go. Now, $140,000. Let that number sink in for a second. That is the pending general homestead exemption amount in Texas for your school district taxes. If the property you're paying on is your primary residence, you absolutely must ensure you filed for your homestead exemption with the appraisal district by April 30th. This exemption literally lops off a massive chunk of your home's taxable value before the tax rate is even applied. It is going to save you a tremendous amount of money year over year, for sure. And hey, remember earlier when we talked about FBCAD appraising over 320,000 properties using statistical models? Well, those mass appraisal models, they miss a lot. They frequently miss the nuances of your specific property. They might overlook deferred maintenance, like an aging roof, or they might lump your older 1980s home into a broad boundary comparison with that brand new subdivision next door, which artificially inflates your value. You have the right to challenge this by filing a protest by May 15th. But, and listen clearly here, even if you file a protest, you still have to pay whatever bill was sent in October, and you have to pay it on time. If you win your protest down the line, the county will absolutely refund you the overpayment, but you cannot use a pending protest as an excuse to skip that January 31st deadline. They will penalize you. All right, Section 5, Troubleshooting and Support. Let's solve some common portal issues. So, while the GovPay system is highly efficient, we all know technology isn't perfect. Here's a look at the most common issue users report, and this comes straight from the Fort Bend County Tax Office website. You've added your properties to your cart, you hit the button to jump over to the GovPay checkout, and suddenly, nothing. Your internet browser just completely stalls out. It hangs on the redirect screen and just refuses to load those payment fields. Super frustrating, right? Well, the good news is the fix is incredibly simple. The county officially advises that if you hit this wall, you just need to clear your internet browser's cache before you try the payment again. Actually, scratch any panic you might feel. Just jump into your Chrome, Safari, or Edge settings, clear those cached images and files, refresh the page, and the redirect will work flawlessly. And because the system doesn't use passwords, you don't even need to worry about accidentally locking yourself out of an account. Now, if you run into any really stubborn issues with your payment, or maybe something is wrong with your property description, or if you just want to set up that pay it forward escrow account we talked about, real human help is available. You can call the office directly at 218-341-3710. You can also email them at fbctaxinfo@fortbendcountytx.gov to speak with an actual property tax professional. If you prefer in-person help, their physical office is over on Eugene Hyman Circle in Richmond, and they operate under Tax Assessor Collector Carmen P. Turner. They are literally there to help you out. Finally, Section 6, Legal Disclaimer, and a few final thoughts. So, we have seen today how utilizing the county's online GovPay system, especially sticking with that totally free e-check option, gives you a secure, convenient, and incredibly cost-effective way to get your tax obligations handled on time. As always, I do need to mention our quick disclaimer. While the information and steps in this explainer are accurate as of our recording date, tax laws and county systems can and do evolve, so definitely always verify the latest details with official Fort Bend County resources. All right, now that you know exactly how to pay your taxes without the headache, I want to leave you with this to chew on. Considering the heavily automated, somewhat flawed nature of mass appraisals, how much money could you potentially save by protesting your home's valuation this coming spring? Think about it. Thanks so much for joining us for this explainer, and we will see you next time.